Yo, yo, yo! What's going on, everyone? What's good, Zonact? How's it going? Welcome to the stream. Whoa, ignore the squeaking of my mic arm. How are you guys doing today? Hot take, KH3 is garbage in every aspect except graphics and level design, where it's just bland. Dang, what did I get into? You guys are about to come for my whole soul. Hot take, Recoded is great, and I'll stand on that hill until I die. I don't know if it's great or not. I gotta play the game. The story isn't the worst thing ever, but it's not that great either. Hot take, I think Xion shouldn't have come back in KH3. Everyone, what's up, Prodigy? How do you think Union Cross will end? I have a few theories. I don't know how exactly it's gonna end. I plan on doing another prediction stream for that sometime during the week. Honestly, today, I was going to sit down and do a long 7-8 hour stream of me just playing through Kingdom Hearts 3 on level 1 on PC. However, I'm too tired. Way too tired to put energy into level 1. I was actually going to do a modded level 1 playthrough as well. So that was another thing. Hot take. Days is boring story-wise, and Xion is stupid and boring and doesn't do anything except cry. Alright, that might be the worst take of the whole live stream. That might be the worst take this entire live stream so far. I gotta see what tops that. Xion being boring and Days being boring. Do you have a soul? I'll ask that. Do you have a soul? That was one of the most emotionally aware Kingdom Hearts games I think we've ever gotten. And we're probably ever going to get that in KH3. And the series is all about like friendship and trios and like being together and stuff, but the Days trio is like one of the few trios that actually like showcases that. Vexen's change to the light side was out of nowhere and made no sense to me. I don't know if that's a hot take. Not that I really agree, but I don't know if that's a hot take, really, because this sounds like, I don't know how to describe that, but it's definitely not a hot take. But I feel like I don't think many people have that big of opinions on Evan in general. I think his turn makes sense because first off, the organization straight up killed him in Chain of Memories. Like, he straight up was just killed. And also, we knew he was Ansem's apprentice. We knew he was, like, his right-hand man. So, like, they had to talk about that. Xion is best girl. KH3 data fights are the best boss fights in the series, and Dream Eaters weren't even that bad. I agree with that hot take. Dream Eaters not being that bad. I actually like Dream Eaters more than I like Unversed. Shoot, at one point I liked them more than Nobodies. Well, I think their designs are more interesting than Nobodies. Hot take: Sora should have died between KH1 and 2. What? And Roxas should have been the protagonist throughout KH2, with Sora taking Roxas' current role in the story. That is a hot take. That's like, that's just a different series. Like that's not even Kingdom Hearts anymore. Take is that Disney fans are the most toxic. They always bash on others that like the original part of the series and don't like the Disney specific segments. I don't. Well, that is a hot take. Cause that would spark some arguments. I would definitely disagree with you completely though, because for me, well, it's definitely both sides of the spectrum, but I've gotten countless comments of people just calling me names or calling me like dumb or something just because I like Disney and Kingdom Hearts, or just because I think Disney should remain in the series. Like, I think the issue, here's what I'll say. On the Disney side, I think people lack, well, on both sides really, both sides lack the perspective of each other. Like, the people on the Disney side who are super hardcore on the Disney side, who are like, yo, keep Disney in cage. People who are super hardcore on that side, like to like the extreme part of that, they don't even want to acknowledge why someone would feel that way, or feel like Disney would hold the series back, or feel like I don't know, or they just don't want to acknowledge the other side's like feelings or why they like the series. Because not everyone does like Disney, but Disney is a part of Kingdom Hearts, which I do think is what the other side of the spectrum lacks a little bit of as well, which is why I say both sides lack perspective. Because the people on the side of, I don't want Disney in cage, it ruins the series, it holds it back, Kingdom Hearts is still Kingdom Hearts without Disney, that side almost, that side doesn't want to view, doesn't even want to try and view it the other way of like, okay, how can someone possibly see Disney as important, or see Disney as something that's like a value in Kingdom Hearts? Like, no, like neither side wants to acknowledge each other. But the biggest, that's just one common issue. The other issues would be on the Disney side. The Disney people, they really like to I'm trying to think of the words to describe it. I'd say they can be really like, no, actually both sides are like that. Yeah, honestly, it's kind of the same. Literally, the argument is like the argument's like arguing to a brick wall on both sides. Both sides don't want to acknowledge each other's opinions, and both sides are way too aggressive about their opinions as well. There's no like compromise or anything with either. Like, of course, I have my bias because I am on that Disney side of the spectrum. But moving away from bias, I do think both sides can be very aggressive and do not acknowledge other people's opinions. Like, there's a way to explain how you feel about something without being unnecessarily aggressive and just putting other people's opinions or perspectives down. And that's something the Kingdom Hearts community does in general. One of the few things that the community does have a little bit of an issue with, I'd say. But I mean, it's a case-by-case scenario. I won't subject the entire community to that. It's just, I'll say that's how Twitter can be sometimes. When the cage community is at its worst, that's what it's like. Wonderland is the worst world in the entire series. Ooh, worst world? I don't know about that. Pride Lands is right there. Kingdom Hearts 3 was a solid ending for the franchise. Everyone was together at the end. It seemed like everything wrapped up nicely. I don't think that's a hot take. I think a lot of people like KH3's ending. There's just a strong vocal few who dislike it, but most people I come across tend to be alright with the ending. they at least think what you think it's solid. But it's like on the other end, some people say, oh, it's not as good as KH2's, but some people are like, oh, it's not like KH2's, that means it's bad, or maybe it's not conclusive enough, that means it's bad, even though it's not trying to be super conclusive, it's trying to wrap up the saga while also giving you interest for a new one. KH3 should have run on the same graphics as KH2 style and changed to the Kingdom Share when entering Yzora's world. You want KH3 to look like KH2? Hold on, I need to understand that correctly. Huh? You mean like KH2 CGI or KH2's in-game graphic style? Like, Kingdom Hearts needs Disney. It's just that it should also have the balance of Final Fantasy. Kingdom Hearts is a balance of childhood nostalgia and anime. Final Fantasy was never that big, never had that big of a role in the series, but that doesn't mean it shouldn't have a role in the series. Like KH3 lacked not giving it a role in the series, or I don't know if I'd say they had a role. They just had a presence. Like, that presence is what made KH cool. Like, it's a little baffling, because this is what I mean by the both sides not acknowledging each other's takes, and there is a little bit of hypocrisy in some statements I definitely see. Like, the same people I often see talk about how they want more Final Fantasy elements in the game and Disney should go away. Like, not the people who are like, Disney should take a backseat a little bit. People are like, straight up, Disney, gone. Get this out of here. It's ruining the series. No, it's not even important anyways. But Final Fantasy characters are, if we want to go for a story route, like, and talk about what these characters' accolades are in the story, Final Fantasy characters have way less direct involvement with the plot than Disney does. That's not even that. I don't think that's super debatable either. I'd like to hear a debate on it for sure, but like, I personally, my own opinion, I don't feel like that's that debatable. Final Fantasy has way less of a impact on the series than Disney does. And I can say this with examples like I could just name characters: Maleficent, Donald, Goofy, Yensid, Mickey. 5 easy characters that are very, very much involved with the main plot. With Final Fantasy characters, I'd say KH1, Leon helping Sora, guiding him a little bit. That's a decent thing. That's a significant thing right there. I think in KH2, if you took Final Fantasy characters out, it doesn't change that much. Maybe it messes with the Tron stuff a little bit, but I don't think it's that. I don't think they're inconsequential or anything. I'm trying to think like what Final Fantasy characters have done like majorly in the story. But to my point, what I mean is, people say they want more Final Fantasy involvement in the game, or they just want to see more Final Fantasy characters because they like Final Fantasy. They think it's cool. That is literally the exact same reason people like seeing Disney in the game. People like seeing Disney, not just because it's super canon, not just because it's super canon or whatever, because they're just fun, they're entertaining. People like the Disney movies. They bring this atmosphere, this uniqueness to the series, with each different Disney movie having these different themes, these different stories they like to tell. That's why they like it. But that's also the same reason people like Final Fantasy. This is the reason I like Final Fantasy characters. Just the presence alone is worthwhile. But I do agree, I would like to see more Final Fantasy aside from just a Hollow Bastion reference. But I also think, like, if you just replace the Disney stuff with Final Fantasy, you're just gonna create the same divide. Is this gonna be the opposite? Instead of it being like, Disney should take a backseat, you're gonna have people like me, because personally, I'm not even into Final Fantasy like that. I like Final Fantasy 7 mostly, but I'm not into the series like that. Like, I don't play every Final Fantasy game. I could honestly, I could kind of, it wouldn't affect me as much because I don't have as much of a connection to it if Final Fantasy got taken out of the series. But that's why I don't want it, because it's not just about me, it's about other people, and I do enjoy the characters' involvement, and I want more Final Fantasy bosses. But if you just make it all Final Fantasy, all Square Enix, it's like just all Square IPs. I'm going to sit there, you're going to have people like me, I'm going to sit there and be like, okay, can Final Fantasy take a backseat and bring Disney back? Like, I don't know, this is how I am. Like, does that make sense, guys, at all? Or am I like crazy? That's just me. It's like, it's almost like both sides want extremes, and there's not as much of a compromise between the people arguing. I think there's a lot of people that do want to compromise. They're just chilling in the background. They aren't engaging in all the arguments or debates on Twitter or social media. They're just like chilling. Cause I mean, we all know Kingdom Hearts ain't getting rid of Disney, and Final Fantasy, even if it skips out in a game or two, Final Fantasy's always gonna come back. Like, shoot, have you seen Versus 13? Have you seen Yozora? Like, it's always gonna come back, even if it takes a little chill pill here and there. So I'm chill with it. I'm chill. I'm honestly chill with it. Yo, Crave, thank you for the $5 dono. I'm sorry I missed a couple comments. I'm on a long tangent there. KH3 should have had 2 or 3 different non-canon endings, depending on what team you want to pick. Days Trio or BBS Trio. Also, hi. And so you're saying you wanted like different playable trios, and each trio had a different ending. Non-canon. That's interesting, for sure. That's definitely an extreme take, I guess. Okay. Well, let me scroll up to see some comments I missed. Sora being punished was something that felt refreshing. Just because you want to make everything right and to do the right thing doesn't mean you can just abuse the power you have been given to do it. Oh yeah, I agree. Ultimately, I think that the original characters are better than the Final Fantasy characters, but the Final Fantasy characters are cool to have around. Exactly, they're really cool. Like, a reason I'm interested in Final Fantasy to begin with. Like, I'd say I'm not into Final Fantasy. I'm not like actively going out of my way to play a bunch of Final Fantasy games. I'm content with Kingdom Hearts, but I do want to play more Final Fantasy games, and I want to share that with you guys, actually. Getting into 7 made me realize, like, dang, there's Final Fantasy's kind of fire. But honestly, my interest in 7 started from Kingdom Hearts. So it's like, yeah. Okay. And there is a difference with storytelling here as well. Like, your preferred style of storytelling. I know some people, I guess because they've grown up a little bit or something, however people want to define maturity, because I know there's this extremely bizarre thing in the gaming community, which I'm kind of glad that like social media has combated a little bit, because it's definitely something that's been around for multiple generations. There's this weird thing where it's like this mentality of, as you get older, you're supposed to enjoy less and less things, and like you're supposed to not be into the kiddie friendship stuff. You're supposed to be into the shows that are like talking about death and tragedy and survival of the fittest, or taxes or something. I don't freaking know. Like all this adulty stuff. I'm like, I mean, I'm only like 20, I guess, about to turn 20 in a couple of months. But like, I don't care. I mean, shoot, I wear that stuff on my sleeve. And honestly, a lot of people like that are lying to themselves. Like, I feel like they are. Because, I'll use an example. My dad, right? He, all my life growing up, I knew my dad was into Dragon Ball. My dad's generally a pretty honest person. But generally, outside of like Dragon Ball and some other stuff, my dad was mostly just, publicly, he mostly just talked about sports. And he mostly just talked about, like, you know, the regular, I guess, male adult stuff. Sports, I don't know, stereotypical stuff. I don't know what else to say. Just sports. That's pretty much it. That's all I can remember. Just sports and shows like Game of Thrones or Walking Dead, more serious shows and stuff like for other media entertainment. But I had a convo with my dad one time, and he told me one thing he does love about my generation is that he likes that anime and all that stuff is kind of like becoming mainstream now, because he's always watched cartoons and anime and stuff in the background. Some of them I've gotten him into as well, and it's like beforehand he didn't even like he didn't really talk about that. It was kind of cringy or kind of nerdy, but now it's like it's cool to be a nerd, you know what I mean? So that's still a really weird mentality I see nowadays. Like, but my point that I was trying to say, that was a tangent I went on. Basically, I don't care if the story's serious. I don't care if the story's super lighthearted. Just make the story entertaining. A serious story doesn't mean the story's good. A lighthearted story doesn't just mean it's for kids either. So don't drop the stereotypes, drop those stigmas. Like me like about to turn 20, or even when I'm like 30 years old, I'm allowed to like Cage or watch these Disney movies. I don't care. I'm a eat them junks up. They're going to be so good. All right, let's read some more. Exactly, Digit. Exactly. You found this book here on Tuesday on your Netflix list. I'm gonna start watching it soon. Ooh, definitely tell me how you feel about that show. I love that show so much. Final Fantasy characters had much more impact. If Disney is quantity, then Final Fantasy is quality. There isn't much, but almost every awesome moment that isn't just original characters involves them in some way. That, I don't agree with that whatsoever. I don't agree with that. I don't know what to say. I just don't, like, I'm kind of baffled. I personally don't agree with that. That's definitely a hot take. I think Final Fantasy characters, if anything, for me, I wouldn't say they have more impact than Disney. For me, Disney definitely has more impact than Final Fantasy does. Like, I get way more hype seeing like Frozen and Kingdom Hearts than I do seeing a Final Fantasy character. Like, Disney just it has way more impact for me. But that's just how I grew up. And like I said earlier, I don't have as much attachment to Final Fantasy as some people do. Like, you can name the cool moments Final Fantasy characters have, but there's so many cool moments Disney characters have had too. I mean, shoot, Donald freaking just destroying Terranort is just one of them. Yeah, when Final Fantasy scenes go hard, they do go hard. I agree. I don't know. Like, they both do their job. Cage was a series where a lot of kids will say that's Cloud from Cage. They stole it from Cage. Okay. I don't know. I felt like Cage 3 was too kiddie at times. Like, Cage 3 had the perfect balance. Nah. I don't know. I guess Cage 2 did have that little edge to it, but like, I don't feel like Cage 3 really lacked that or anything. Like, it didn't feel significantly different. Like, I guess it comes down to the Disney worlds. Like, yeah, the Disney worlds were a little more lighthearted in Cage 3. They chose a lot of Disney worlds that are lighthearted. Like, Tangled, Monsters, Inc., Toy Story, like, all of those movies are, like, super lighthearted. Well, Toy Story and Cage 3 definitely had some emotional moments. Gotta think. Like, because I don't completely disagree with it. I do think Cage 2 has a nice, like, little balance, but I don't feel like I feel like it comes at a price, you know? Like, with Cage 2, I think a big reason it probably feels less lighthearted is because Disney Worlds in that game hardly matter. You know, I'm gonna give you guys my hot take. I think Cage 2 Disney Worlds are, like, borderline just bad. Borderline. Not completely. Borderline. Because most of the Disney properties in Cage 2 have, like, absolutely no substance. There's like hardly any substance in Disney World in Cage 2. There's a couple worlds that do good. Tron, First Beast Castle Visit, First Olympus Visit, and I like Port Royal. I don't know about anything else. Everything else is kind of like there. Like, cause I gotta think. Like, Disney World and Cage 2 really didn't hit for me the way Cage 1s or really that many other games did. San Fran was weak, Frozen was weak, and I think that those are it. For me, the only world I really dislike that much is San Fran, and Frozen's story is pretty weak, but I like the gameplay a lot. Gameplay carries that world hard, but I'd overall say it's weak. So San Fran and Frozen, probably the only two just whatever Disney Worlds in that game. I guess in opinion, that's just petty of mine. Ultima and Cage 3 is by far the ugliest Ultima. The red doesn't compare the yellow or blue. Cage 1 Ultima Master Race. Alright, I disagree with you there. Cage 2 Ultimate Weapon, I like Cage 2's Ultimate Weapon a lot, but Cage 1's, I think Cage 1's Ultimate Weapon is kinda ugly. I'm not gonna lie, kinda ugly. It just looks weird because it's like, I don't know. It looks more like a sword than a keyblade sometimes. All the Ultimas look bad. I don't agree with that. I'll take Cage 4. It should have form changes that are similar to Jobs in Final Fantasy, and Ultimate Weapon should be similar to Onion Knight. I don't know what Onion Knight is, but I actually like that idea a lot. Form changes similar to Jobs. I like that idea. I think that's cool. I think that's really cool. Cage 4 should have a calendar system and world deadlines to complete, but why? Cage 1 is your least favorite. Honestly, I do hear that a lot. Like, a lot of newer Cage fans, some old ones as well. Like, Cage 1's become this, like, either you love it or like, don't like it sort of game. Like, I don't see a lot of in-betweens of, like, Cage 1's alright. Nowadays, it's like, yo, Cage 1's, like, a masterpiece. It started all, where it's like, that game's clunky. Like, it's usually those two opinions. I disagree with y'all though. Cage 1, that's the third best game of all time to me. So that's, I will never ever fold. Don't get me wrong. And I know some of you guys probably just view me as like a Cage 3 show, because I definitely play a lot of Cage 3. It is my favorite game. And it released pretty recently, so finding out new things about it and with the mods and stuff, it's pretty fun. But I'm a KH show. I'm not just a Cage 3 show. I'm a KH show. Like, I will, like, even though I'll talk bad about some Cage games and for comparison's sake, like, for example, the thing I just said about Disney, like, I think Cage 2's Disney Worlds are borderline bad, but that's really only in comparison to Cage 3 or Dream Drops or Cage 1's Worlds, even some moments in Birth by Sleep, but they're still fun. Like, when I'm going through Disney Worlds and Cage 2, I'm not sitting there like, oh my gosh, why is this Disney World so bad? Not all the time. I'm like, instead, I'm just like, yo, this gameplay's fire. Like, yo, Sean Yu, this boss fight's gas, but that is just in comparison. So keep that in mind whenever I'm critiquing stuff with Cage. I am, instead of just saying, oh, well, let's take my least favorite game. What's my least favorite? What is my least favorite Cage game? I don't know. Let's say it's Kingdom Memories. Instead of like saying, for example, I would probably say, since we're all talking about KH and the series of Cage, I'm gonna be like, all right, Kingdom Memories, that card system, it's some booty cheeks. It's butt. It's bad. Maybe I probably won't. I wouldn't say I actually like the card system a lot, but just for an example, like, I just say that in comparison to other titles, like, to emphasize how I don't prefer it, not because I actually think it's like the worst thing on the planet. Rather, it's not my preferred method of gameplay. That's how I feel about Cage 2 Disney Worlds. It's not my preferred style of Disney Worlds whatsoever. I think peak Kingdom Hearts is definitely remining Cage 3. Cage 3's ending especially. That's like peak Cage for me. Hot take, Cage 1 is the worst game in the series besides Dream Drop Distance. You guys are crazy. What is with this Cage 1 hate? Alright. I gotta do a poll in the chat. Alright, everyone in the chat, yes or no. Do you guys like KH1? Yes or no? Extreme take. There should have been some joke endings, such as no damaging Xehanort and Sora calls the Disney princesses and jumps Xehanort. That would be pretty funny. Yes, yes. All right. Good. I see a lot of yeses in there. There you guys go. There y'all go. Yeah, I see a couple no's in there though. KH1 has some BS, but it's a solid 7 out of 10. 7 out of 10? You mean a 10 out of 10? Let me stop. Nah, that's a 10 out of 10. Dream drop distances. Dog S word. Oh, I didn't mean to hide the message. My bad. But I read her comment anyways. That's interesting. I don't think there's a bad KH game. Personally, I don't think there's a bad KH game. Even Union Cross, I don't think it's bad. Now I'm gonna ask a question for everyone. Do you guys? All right. How many bad Kingdom Hearts games are there? Everyone in the chat. For me, there's 0. Or rather, do you think there's a bad Kingdom Hearts game? There's no bad KH games, there's just less desirable ones. Yo, Isaac, thank you for the $5 dono. Which character do you think would win in a death battle, Master Xehanort or Emperor Palpatine? Star Wars. If you're a Star Wars fan in the first place. I'm a big Star Wars fan. I'm a big Star Wars fan. Emperor Palpatine. That actually is hard because KH characters can compete with a lot of Star Wars characters, but Emperor Palpatine might have the slight edge if we go off of Star Wars Legends comics. But if we're just going off of the movies and the shows, Master Xehanort. But Master Xehanort would definitely give Palpatine a run for his money. So that's definitely that's a death battle I'd actually like to see. Emperor Palpatine versus Master Xehanort. Oh, I'd really like to see that. Rechain wasn't bad. Y'all just hated the card system. I think I'm with you. I share that hot take. Chain of Memories is a very good game. People just didn't feel like learning the card system. Who just did not feel like it. By the way, guys, if you guys are enjoying the live stream, consider becoming a member. We do have memberships live on the channel. We're at 29 out of 50 members for our membership goal. You can type !member in the chat, and Nightbot will post a nice little link for you guys that you can click on, and it will give you all the information you need to become a member. And there's a lot of benefits that come with it as well. Oh yeah, listen to 13 Secrets. Slap that like button. All right, let me change the music. Someone made a death battle of Xehanort vs Palpatine? Really? Oh, let me search that up. That sounds really cool. Like an actual animated one, or just like... Jump distance is the best non-numbered world and has the best Disney worlds of any game. I think Dream Drop, aside from KH3, might have the second best Disney worlds. KH1 might grab it for story, but Dream Drop Distance's worlds are like, they're all fun to go through. Maybe with the exception of the grid, but even then, the grid is a lot more fun than I remember too. I just want to hear Duel of Fates in Kingdom Hearts. Like that, this is what I want. Duel of Fates is one of the best things to ever exist. Alright, everyone, right now, name your least favorite Kingdom Hearts game. Go. My least favorite is going to be Recoded because I haven't played it. it's gonna be Recoded. Or you know what? I could count Dark Road. Is it KH1, Chain of Memories, Coded, BBS, Calm, Union Cross, KH3? Everyone has a different least favorite KH game. I see Coded the most though. I see Coded a lot. I see more KH1s than I would really like to. Dovax, you're too loud, but I agree with you. The world number was a way better world in Dream Drop Distance, but didn't have as many bosses. Yeah, I saw your hot take, Noir. I don't like the combat in Chain of Memories, but the story saves it. I'm guessing KH1 is better than Dream Drop Distance. Heck, there's not a single non-number title aside from maybe Birth by Sleep. Aside from maybe Birth by Sleep that competes with the number title. Like, and Birth by Sleep sometimes on the best of days is tied with KH1. But to be fair though, before KH3 existed, Dream Drop Distance was like was one of my favorite KH games at one point. KH2 kind of climbed up to be my favorite the more and more I played it. I think Day's story and gameplay is good, but I don't think the bosses are that great. That's where the gameplay falls flat for me. The bosses in Days are not that great. But I actually think the combat's really good and the panel system's surprisingly fun. I'm not gonna lie, I definitely don't agree with you, Noir. I might agree on the villains, but I gotta think about it a little bit more. But I definitely think, personally, character writing for me probably peaked. Okay, I'll put it like this. Okay, I think the best Kingdom Hearts games in terms of character writing, like how they characterize characters, Days, Chain of Memories, KH3. KH3 does a really good job with other characters, I feel like. I mean, I know some people can pick and choose to be like, oh, Riku ain't do nothing in that game. I mean, his story was done. He didn't need to do that much. But Riku Replica though in KH3? Hold up. That was crazy. Riku Replica had such a good story in that game. Kairi ended up doing a lot better with Remind and Melody of Memory. 0.2 does wonders for Aqua. 0.2 is probably peak Aqua. It is probably peak Aqua for sure. So I don't know. I think I think the only game after Days that does a mediocre job at characterization might be Dream Drop. And even then, Dream Drop did... The only character that kind of fell flat in Dream Drop was Sora. Everyone else was good. So yeah, okay, I'm gonna say I don't agree, Noah. I don't agree, personally. Because I know you want Sora to be like a little different from what he is, admittedly. But for me, I'm fine with Sora right now. I definitely am interested to see how he improves, how he grows, how he changes with this Quadratum situation. However, I think the aspect that some people don't like about Sora is something I admire, debatably the most about him, which is part of what makes him like one of my favorite characters in media and makes him such an impactful character for me, not outside of video games, just as a person for me. Like, he's impacted me like so much growing up, like looking at Sora as kind of like my role model in life for a long time. Like, Sora's just great. Like, he, like, that aspect of keeping true to himself in even the toughest of situations is really admirable. And a lot of characters do that, right? But Sora, the way KH does it, it hits a lot more. Extreme Tape, people couldn't beat KH Recom. Don't know how to count and dodge. Oh my gosh. First game is the best. I respect that a lot. Honestly, all the number tiles are pretty good. To me. DS games aren't as bad as everyone makes them out to be. I used to not like Days. Days used to be my least favorite KH game, but it's pretty darn good. Days pulled a 180 for me. Riku and Mickey's new Keyblades don't feel important. I don't think that's a hot take. I think that's just, you're just kind of stating something. They don't really feel that important at all. I agree. After KH3, KH2 feels stiff. The only thing about going back to KH2 that sucks after playing KH3 is the lack of air options. Imagine not being able to use items in the air in a KH game. That's crazy. Nuclear. I like how you guys are using different words. Extreme take, nuclear take. But anyways, nuclear take, Riku Braveheart is garbage. Give me Way to Dawn. I don't think it's garbage, but I like his old Keyblade better, yes. I don't know, Noir. I don't think the cast sees him as like a scrub. They just want to protect him. Like, I think it's like, I think that takes a weird, like, how do I describe it? I don't know. I can kind of agree with the I want to keep him normal thing, because I want to keep him normal thing. I understand it, but it is a little weird, admittedly, given everything he's done so far in the series. However, the statement of shouldn't keep him from greatness, it's hard to understand where that comes from your perspective, because it's like, he's still doing amazing things. It's like, Sora getting clowned on for like a couple of scenes, or even, having some moments where he does like lose, or where he gets hurt, or where he's in danger, like, hasn't stopped him from doing like crazy broken things in the KH series. So it's like, it's I think it sounds like you want them to say it a lot more than show it, like the opposite of show don't tell. Like, you want them to tell like a lot more. You want them to say to Sora like, yo, you're crazy. You want them to gas Sora up? I don't know. That's how I interpret it a little bit. I don't know if I'm right on that. But like, I don't understand what you mean basically by Nomura shouldn't keep him from greatness. Cause I don't need Sora. I don't need Sora to be, yeah, I don't need Sora to be like a god or anything. But I was about to say, I agree with the Infernal Fox's comment. Sora being normal is the reason he's broken. That kind of is how the series paints it. Like Sora being broken is literally because he doesn't overthink every scenario or every situation. He just has, he's a normal boy with normal motives, quote. Is mainly stems from him not being the master. Yeah, I had a feeling, but I didn't want to say because I didn't know if that's exactly where it was coming from. For me, I don't care about that. Like that doesn't matter to me that much. Sora not being a master. It's because it's just like, I mean, it's the weight of master, and I forgot. I was going to make a video about this after finishing the BBS Ultimate. I might do that soon actually now, but. I feel like the weight of being a Keyblade Master, literally, it doesn't have weight. Being a Keyblade Master has, like, no weight in the cages. It's one of the few aspects of storytelling in the series I'm tempted to say I like, borderline don't like. Because being a Keyblade Master holds, like, very minimal significance. Richard Epcar's a better Ansem than Billy Zane. Ooh, okay. I don't know. They're the same. They're both equally as good. I don't think Richard Epcar is like some big step back from Billy Zane like some people think. I think Richard Epcar does an amazing job as Ansem. An amazing job. I don't think that's a hot take, Serenity. Jens is the worst mentor ever. Jensen just sits there. It isn't really a hot take, but I do like how Cage doesn't really focus on the romance part. Everyone just holds hands and that's it. Yeah, I agree. I like that Kingdom Hearts. For me, I prefer Kingdom Hearts to not focus on romance. Don't get me wrong, I love my romance shows. Animes and whatnot, but I feel like the friendship thing hits deeper and hits on a lot more levels than, oh, I'm like super duper in love with you, like the romance thing. I think it hits on way more levels than that. And creative, thank you so much for the trailer. I don't know. Sora legit has cockroach plot armor since PBS. Yeah, he does. Yeah. Hot take: Star Wars and Marvel should be in the next Kingdom Hearts game. Is that a hot take? So let's see if that's a hot take. All right, chat. Yes or no? Do you guys want Star Wars and Marvel in Kingdom Hearts? No. Okay, I see a lot. Okay, that's a little surprising. I see a lot more no's than I thought I would. Dang. Okay, well, I guess that is a hot take then. Huh. I mean, okay, I'll be honest. Like, in 2014, 15, maybe, no, 2016 even, I was not that fond of I was not that fond of Marvel and Star Wars being in Kingdom Hearts, mostly because I felt like the universes of Star Wars and Marvel would conflict way too much with Kingdom Hearts for the stories to make sense. But now, I just want to see it because I think it'd be cool. I don't care if it makes sense to me. I just want it to look cool. I genuinely don't care. It cannot make sense all at once. Just let me fight Darth Vader or Darth Maul with Duel of Fates playing in the background. I don't care. Like, I'll be that guy. Alright. I want to paint a picture for you guys right quick. So, I want to explain to you exactly how my brain works when it comes to Kingdom Hearts. So we're gonna scramble a little list right here, and I want you guys, based off of my personality, to predict how I feel about each of these. Well, let's do 5 things. Why am I typing wrong? Disney story, gameplay. And then, oh. What's another major aspect? Well, what do we think when we talk about Kingdom Hearts? We talk a lot about Disney World, talk a lot about story, gameplay, characters. I guess I could put Final Fantasy in there, but I don't think that's necessary. Music? We talk about music a lot. Oh, I guess I could put lore. Oh, we'll keep it the way it is. We'll keep it super simplistic, not convoluted a little bit. Okay, so I want you guys to just sit down, all right, and try and predict for me. I just want to see how well you guys know me, or how much you, or just see how you guys think I feel about each of these. So I want all of you to put into like just an order. I'm gonna pick a random order. Let's do this, something like that. Put a random list, or a list that you think displays how I feel. How I feel about each of these. Just make a prediction. Like, what do you think out of these I care about the most? And you can type it like that. I just want to see. And while you guys do that, I'm going to get water. Give me a moment. I also need to take this stuff to the kitchen. Whoa. Alright, yep, there we go. Okay. Nobody's gotten it right so far. No one's even that close, actually. Dang, you guys aren't even close. Not even close. Okay, Jose in the chat just got, like, I'd say that's the closest so far. That's the closest, but not quite right, but that's the closest. Oh, I thought you were sharing your own preferences. Sure, you can share your own preferences as well. Alright. So, for me... Alright. It's characters. Characters are the biggest thing for me. Because I strongly believe a story is nothing without good characters. Or almost nothing without good characters. Or rather, you know what? Maybe not that. Let me retract that statement. I think characters are way more important than your overall story is. Because if you build your characters to be interesting enough, viewers are always going to have interest no matter what. Think about shows that don't have spectacular storytelling or anything, like Dragon Ball, or honestly, like 90% of shonen. I'll use Dragon Ball as a simple example. Dragon Ball. A big reason a lot of people come back to watch Dragon Ball is so they can see X character get the next power up, or maybe they want to see the world getting built up, or they just want to see some cool fights. But they come a lot of times because a lot of us just have that attachment to Goku and Vegeta growing up, and it's something that hard carries Dragon Ball, and even through its roughest of states. Like, even though a lot of people may bash GT, a lot of us still watched it. Even though a lot of people may bash Super, we were part of the reason it broke, like episode 131 broke all the streaming services. Characters are super important when it comes to a story. And I think the most common thing in all of my favorite pieces of media, Kingdom Hearts, Avatar, things like Octopath Traveler, even simple stories like Jack and Daxter. Those stories have one thing in common. Carol and Tuesday, the characters are, or the main characters at a minimum, are amazing, legendary, unforgettable, and I love them. They can make even the worst of moments tolerable and just straight up enjoyable. Characters over plot. Yeah, well-written characters will hold the story. So characters is number one. After characters for me will be Disney. And here's why. For one, Disney in Kingdom Hearts doesn't just provide us fun, and doesn't just provide us like fun gameplay scenes, or neither are they just advertisements. They're also used in the series as world building. They coincide with the characters, especially with Sora, which is a big reason he's one of my favorite characters ever. Sora gets almost all of his character development from Disney World. Yeah, there's some significant moments with Sora that does happen outside of Disney World. It's like moments where he's on his knees begging for Kairi, and Riku shows up and gives him a little hint about Roxas and Radiant Garden in KH2, or even when he sees Riku in Traverse Town for the first time after everything went crazy in Destiny Islands, or end of KH3. There's a lot of moments where Sora does get character development outside of Disney World, but what about the build up to those moments? Sora's not just going from moment to moment. He's constantly talking about these moments, referencing these events, talking about his feelings, how he felt about X thing happening, what certain Disney characters kind of teach him on how to approach certain scenarios, like in KH3, how he had this really genuine smile on his face when he saw Elsa and Anna just have this true love for each other that wasn't just about, like romance or anything, but that family type of love. Like, love will thaw. That's like a phrase Sora got from all of that. And in KH3, he referenced back to a bunch of scenes where he saw love kind of take hold of the entire situation, and that's kind of what happened with Kairi. A lot of Sora's character development happens in Disney World, and I talk about this frequently in a Disney World video I made earlier this year. Hold on, let me search it up. And this video right here, I talk pretty heavily about why I think Disney Worlds and KH3 were really good. And I do talk about some of the critiques I have for them, but overall, the Disney Worlds and KH3 were amazing. They were amazing to me. They were absolutely amazing because they went a step further in characterizing Sora and the gang and giving him perspective of different situations, which leads to Sora having this emotional awareness that really does like change how he approaches some situations, or changes at least how he thinks about them, and I like it. So on top of that, right, Disney World's benefits Sora a lot. I do want to see Disney World's do that same thing for other characters though, but a big reason I like Disney Worlds is because Sora's in them. Outside of that, the Disney Worlds are indeed fun, and they add world building to the series because it's like they talk about this immense light, this immense power in the world that is light and darkness, and we got to protect the worlds from falling into darkness. All the worlds were separated. What are these worlds? They're the Disney Worlds. It's not, imagine if the Kingdom Hearts universe was just Traverse Town and Radiant Garden, like, or just Traverse Town, Radiant Garden, Twilight Town or something. Like, that's not nearly as interesting to me as exploring these vast different environments and areas, like the Frozen Wonderland of Frozen, or exploring the forest of the Kingdom of Corona of Tangled, or exploring a whole factory in Monsters Inc., or scaling up mountains in Mount Olympus, or the big city in San Francisco. And I'm just referencing KH3 worlds. Let's go to some other worlds in the series as well. Literally like being in Notre Dame, in the Hunchback world. The Three Musketeer world, that area is pretty unique. Being underwater in Atlantic, like, I don't know, all these different worlds, or shoot, being in London and Neverland, or being in Neverland, like, I don't know, like all these different worlds add some world building to the series. And yeah, it's not as like it's not as big. It being world building isn't as big of a focus. It's more so like a foundation in the background, not something that they like shove in your face like, yo, this world matters because if darkness falls this world, this thing's gonna happen. It's more so like, well, these worlds are the worlds you're protecting, so rightfully Sora gets to visit them. Rightfully Sora has a stake in these worlds because him being the Keyblade wielder, he should help protect them. And it makes for some really fun gameplay scenes as well. Because personally for me, right, just for me, like, I'm gonna ask how you guys feel about this. For me, as much as I like Twilight Town, Traverse Town, Radiant Garden, all three of those worlds, like, they're how do I describe it? I don't want to only visit worlds like that. I'm way more like, it makes level design way more interesting when you have worlds, like when you're able to take Disney worlds or these other IPs and create something crazy out of them. And I would like them to do that with some Square Enix stuff too. That would be pretty cool. Like take areas from Square Enix games and make those into worlds. I wouldn't mind that. But it's a lot more interesting, like having different Disney worlds for level design instead of just going from room to room. Like think about some platformers. Like platformers have a lot of interesting levels and stuff, a lot of unique worlds and whatnot. But I mean, there's moments in platformers, right, where we're just going from room to room, or even in other action games or other RPGs or games in general. We're just going from room to room, and sometimes the room look the same, sometimes this room's slightly different. Maybe it has some moss on the wall or some stone over here. But like in Kingdom Hearts, every time you step into a Disney world, it's completely like completely different. Like in Olympus, I'm sitting here scaling up mountains. In Toy Box, I'm scaling up freaking toys, and I'm in giant Gigas and mechs and stuff. In San Francisco, I'm like scaling up, I'm air stepping to buildings and balloons and whatnot. And like I'm running in the street. The Sora should be looking both ways. Like the Sora's just running into the street, stopping traffic. Like stuff like that's cool to me. It's really cool. Like, or like going into the sewers and Hunchback, or like going underground, like exploring like underwater, exploring the sea, under the sea in Atlantica. Like it's way more interesting when every level is going to be like super cool or unique like that. Or yeah, tree riding in deep jungle. Like it's a lot more cool to me and way more fun than just going to the next generic room. Like Disney being part of Kingdom Hearts gives Kingdom Hearts some guaranteed uniqueness with every single encounter. And usually when I see people critique Disney and KH, they critique it from like a story perspective, which I can understand, because you want Disney to be a little bit more apparent. Like you want to see Sully like get into that fight in Keyblade Graveyard. I get that. Like I understand. Like it would be kind of cool to see like Jack Sparrow come out of a portal and like just start boxing Dark Riku with you or something, even if he gets washed in the process. But that'd be cool. That'd be awesome. I wouldn't mind that. Like they should do more stuff like that and make it more apparent to the viewers who don't value the same stuff I do. But to say they don't have value at all is a little like crazy for me, you know. I don't know. How do you guys feel? Like, do you guys get where I'm coming from, or understand what I mean at all, or am I like crazy, or am I just talking on my butt or something? I hope not. I know I like stammer a bit, so I can be all over the place when I'm trying to explain myself, especially in an unscripted format, but I try. Yeah, I agree, Purple. Some games do make it more interesting than others. Here's a hot take. You could probably create a small religion with Kingdom Hearts if you look at how spiritual the games are overall. I don't know if that's a hot take. 'Cause I don't know. I don't know if that's a hot take. I mean, I guess. Now after Disney, this is where it gets a little hard for me. I don't know if I like I don't know if I like the story more than the gameplay or not. I'm tempted to say they're even. I really gotta think. I don't know if I can choose. I don't think I can choose. I'm not going to choose. So we're just going to do both story and gameplay are even for me, but I definitely care about Disney worlds and characters more than both the story and the gameplay overall. Even though I talk about the story a lot and that's the main thing I come to, it's View it like this. View it like this, alright? Don't view it as just a blanket statement of, oh, Disney's better than the story, or oh, all these characters are way better than the story. Think of it as in, from my perspective, this is how I view it. The characters and the Disney worlds is what makes the story so good, and it's what makes the gameplay so good as well. Without the characters being as interesting as they are, without characters like Sora, without characters like Riku, Kairi, even in her worst moments, Donald, Goofy, will count them, I guess. Without some of these characters, some of these villains adding the weight and doing their job, I guess you can say, getting you interested, being interesting, the story would fall flat. Imagine a story. Okay, imagine Kingdom Hearts being this big friendship, friends are my power story, my friends are my power story, and all the characters suck. Literally, I was in a convo earlier today, actually. Kingdom Hearts, you could say Kingdom Hearts does it better than this anime called Fairy Tail, but there's an anime called Fairy Tail out there that has almost the exact same type of like mindset, like my friends are my power sort of thing. They do this little like finger thing in the air where they're just like, where they like do a little pointing thing in the air, and it's like the fairy tale I don't know, symbol or something. Is this the thing they do to give people motivation? And there's literally moments in Fairy Tail where characters just get all this power and they just get broken just because their friends are, because they think about their guild, they think about the people that got them here, the friends that they care about. Kingdom Hearts does like a very similar thing. I would personally say better, but like Fairy Tail is way more frowned upon than KH is. KH gets frowned upon by some people. There's moments in KH that people are like, ugh, I hate this. But overall, Kingdom Hearts, a lot of people think very fondly of it. People tolerated the friendship stuff at least up until KH2 or Birth by Sleep, and even well after with games like Days. Maybe they don't like KH3, but it's probably not because of the friendship stuff. Like, the reason it works so well in Kingdom Hearts is because the characters are just really good. Like, Kingdom Hearts doesn't have that many bad characters. Like, it really doesn't. Like, I struggle to find a character in Kingdom Hearts that's genuinely just bad. Like, the worst you can say about a Kingdom Hearts character is, oh, I wish they were on screen more, but that doesn't make them bad. It just means they should be on screen more. That doesn't mean when they are on screen they're not entertaining or they're boring. I said that about Kairi in like a 1,000 videos. Like, yo, Kairi needs to be on screen more. But I still love her character. I still want to see more of her. I actively want to see more of her. Like, I don't want to rent out the series or anything. Like, the worst I can say about a lot of characters is, yo, just give them more screen time. And that's not that bad, because a lot of the time, when they are on screen, they're really entertaining. Like, a lot of us probably wish Xion or Roxas or Lee were on screen more, but when they are on screen, they're some people's, like, favorite characters. So, I don't know, would you guys agree with that? That, like, a lot of KH characters are just good, especially a lot of the original ones. They're all just amazing, and it's a big reason why the story is so successful, why the friendship thing doesn't get critiqued upon as much, because as cringy as it is, a lot of us did grow up with it as quote cringy. I don't view it as cringy. I eat that stuff up, but other people view it as cringy. Like, it works because the characters are so written, so interesting. Like, literally, you could name like any character. You can name like any character in the KH series, and if you told me X character was in your top 5, I might not be surprised. I might be surprised at like some Union Cross characters maybe. But even then, I've met some people who have Union Cross characters as some of their favorite characters. Like, and I've met multiple people like that. So it makes me think like, huh, Cage really just does a great job with characters. The chances of Sora getting smashed like 20%. Yeah, I remember that guy. My friends aren't my power. That was pretty funny. Gameplay? Now, the gameplay. Kingdom Hearts not only has my favorite story and favorite characters out of any series, it also has my favorite gameplay. Not many people can say that about their favorite series. That it hits all marks for them. Like, yo, my series gameplay is gas. My series characters are gas. My series story is gas. Like, a lot of people at least diverge at some point. They're like, oh, well, Devil May Cry is my favorite gameplay. Nier has my favorite story, though. Oh, well, Sonic has my favorite gameplay. But, you know, I like Zelda's story the most, or Zelda's lore. But Cage gameplay, even when Cage gameplay is at its most debatable with Osaka games, with like BBS Dream Drop, it's extremely fun still. Like, I would play Birth by Sleep over like a lot of platformers or even fighting games that I love. I would play Cage 2 or Cage 3 over any game, period, if I'm being real with you. Like, man, the gameplay is just good. Like, I think the biggest thing about the gameplay that's great, and I think Kingdom Hearts excels the most at bosses. Boss fights in Kingdom Hearts are too fun. There's so many different ways you can approach them. There's so many different ways you can do them. Kingdom Hearts fights and bosses they're like a choreographed dance. It's like a choreographed dance, but like you're moving to like you're making your own rhythm as you're playing it. Like that's kind of how I feel. Like, all these bosses have cool patterns, but you can react to them in different ways. It's so awesome. I feel like that with Maleficent, the Yozora. I feel like Maleficent's better in Cage than she is in her, like, movies. Though the new Maleficent movies are pretty good. I actually think the live action Maleficent movies are pretty great. But yeah, I'd say this is how I like feel for the most part. So my order would be, characters are my priority when it comes to a Cage game. Like, characters are the most important to me in Cage, because that's where my attachment comes from. Disney's the second most important thing. Yes, I do care about Disney before the story and gameplay. Yes, I do. Excuse me. But the characters and Disney being as good as they are is what allows the story and gameplay to be as interesting. For me, I know this is different for other people. For me, if you take the Disney out, the game, like, for me, both the story and gameplay end up going away. They end up being less interesting. But at a minimum, the gameplay becomes less interesting for me. The level design, traveling throughout worlds, becomes way less interesting when you take away Disney. But take away characters and literally take away characters and all you really have for me is gameplay. Like, if the characters are mid, if the characters aren't prioritized, all of that goes away. It's like, it's just, okay, the gameplay is cool, I guess, but that's it. Like, I don't care about what I'm doing, but the gameplay is fun. It becomes that sort of game. Cage doesn't become a, ooh, who's the master of masters, or, yo, I wonder who Yozora is, or what Quadratum is sort of game. Rather, it becomes a, oh, this boss is cool. So, yeah, it's, Kingdom Hearts is a very strong foundation, which is why I think it's very important that, and I think, for me, I view Disney as a part of that foundation. So getting rid of Disney is like, it is pretty catastrophic to everything else for me. Because if you take away Disney, you have to work. I feel like everything else has to work super hard to gain my interest. Because I'm telling you right now, I can handle Sora being in a non Disney world without Donald and Goofy. I'm not saying or trying to exaggerate my opinion to say that I'm gonna like go crazy if I don't see Disney in my Cage game. I'm not whatever, bro. Like, but if we got a Verum Rex game and had no Disney in it, I'm cool with that, honestly. I prefer Disney to be in it, but I'd be cool with that. Just a Yozora game, just exploring Quadratum. Maybe put some subtle Disney references in there at least. But like, if it's just Quadratum, you're exploring Verum Rex, that'd be cool. And it could be a big contender for someone's favorite Cage game, right? I mean, they're introducing a new character. This new character doesn't have any apparent attachment to Disney like Sora does. A reason that doesn't work as well with someone like Sora is because Sora's entire character is built from Disney motives, Disney's Disney tropes, even his design being based off of Mickey Mouse. Like, it's, yeah. But if we got like a game like that, I wouldn't like mind fully. Like, I'm cool with that. Like, more diversity in Cage, let's go. However, if I got multiple games, for example, where there's just no Disney worlds, like, for example, let's say we got this will be a great example. If I get a Kingdom Hearts 4 that doesn't have Disney worlds, that doesn't have a Moana world, doesn't have Zootopia, or whatever X world I would love to be in, or Donald and Goofy, I don't see Donald and Goofy, I see no Maleficent, I would not prefer that. Now, I'm not Nomura. Nomura can make like the best. Who knows? Maybe Nomura can pull off a non-Disney Kingdom Hearts in like the best way possible. Maybe it becomes my favorite Cage game, and I pull a complete 180. I'm like, oh, screw Disney. Y'all were right. But knowing how much I like Disney, right? If I got a Cage 4, like, without Moana, at this current moment, my thoughts, without Moana, without a Disney World, without Donald and Goofy, without seeing Sora, Donald, and Goofy together again, or something leading up to that sort of reunion, I'm gonna be a little upset. I'm gonna see it as a missed opportunity. I would not like it. I would probably be pretty critical of that sort of direction, because it's not exactly what I played Cage for, you know, so that's me. How do you guys feel though? Alright, let me give you guys that exact same scenario. You guys get Kingdom Hearts 4. It has no Disney in it. Literally zero Disney in it. How do you feel? No Disney World. It doesn't play like 3, 2, or 1. No cutscene Disney World type pacing. Just, how do you feel? Now, that's not true though. Not the Frozen part, but because they were restrictive with that world from what we know about. However, every Disney World, I won't say every single one, but most Disney Worlds have restrictions they should follow, like guidelines, I should say, because it's Nomura himself doesn't own Disney, so he has to follow guidelines. If I gave, let's say, okay, I'm working on, this is a sneak peek, I'm working on a mascot for my channel at the moment, not my channel, for my brand, and I want to make a comic of her by the end of the year. Now, the artists that I work with, they're allowed to interpret the character however they want, and we're allowed to go back and forth with ideas and whatnot. However, we do have a foundation we like to keep when it comes to the characters. So, with that being said, I'm not going to give that character to just anybody and let them just do whatever they want with it. For example, my mascot's a female at the moment. I have zero interest in sexualizing that character in any way, shape, or form. People, whoever, whatever, like if people want to make fan art or something like that, and it's a little lewd, I can't control that fully, but I'm never going to make anything canon or fully, or anything with my name on it. I'm not gonna put my name on anything that has that character over sexualized. So that's just an example, right? Because of me understanding that mindset, and also to say, knowing that I've read the Ultimanias now, there are other Disney Worlds that have had restrictions that that wasn't a first in KH3. Disney Worlds have had restrictions in the past. They've definitely had restrictions in the past. Believe it or not, some KH1 worlds had restrictions, but I guess they worked around those restrictions better, or maybe theoretically they weren't as maybe they weren't as strict. But the Frozen thing with Disney, it's a little weird because people, I do feel like that thing's taken far sometimes. Cause like the only thing we saw, like I've read the interviews countless times. I know everyone goes off the game theorist video. I have nothing against game theory. Like that was a really good video, and I honestly wouldn't be surprised if a lot of that was true. But the only confirmation we have is Nomura literally just saying there were restrictions, and that Frozen had the most. And that's the key word too. Frozen had the most restrictions, implying other worlds did have restrictions as well. And there's other worlds in KH3 that were good, but Frozen did have the most, understandably. But like, that's all we know. We don't know what the restrictions were. For all we know, it could have been Square Enix that messed up with Frozen. Not even Disney restricting them. It's just like, Disney isn't some big weight on Nomura's shoulders at all. But I don't want things like Frozen to happen again. So if that is the case, yes, don't restrict them as much. Hot take. You ever a little thing called Discord? Yeah. I've heard of a little thing called Discord. I'm gonna need someone to send me the article where Nomura said he had all these ideas and Disney just shut him down. Because the only thing Nomura said, from my understanding, is that Frozen had the most restrictions. That's it. Because, like, it's a collaboration project. And Square can 100% mess up Disney World. Because, I mean, to some people, they even messed up their own original worlds in KH3. Like, Twilight Town, Twilight Town and Cage 3, that's one of the few worlds I don't like in that game, because it's just not, well, I won't say I don't like it, but it's just not the greatest for me. Like, Square can mess up Disney worlds. Like, as much as I love Square Enix, they're really kind to me, but like, they can mess up Disney worlds, believe it or not. They can mess up Disney worlds. They have. I feel like they're probably a big reason Cage 2 Disney worlds were a little eh. No, AJ, that's literally just a theory from game theory. That there's no confirmation of that. There's zero confirmation of them trying to make Elsa a villain. I don't know where people get that from. It's so weird. Well, I know where people get it from. I don't know why people like just ran with it like it was confirmation. Like, a lot of the critiques, a lot of the Disney holding back Square thing is, it's mostly assumptions. It's mostly assumptions. Which is why I do tend to be a little combative towards it, because it's like, not all of this is confirmed though. If it was confirmed, I'd be 100% with you guys. Like, okay, I have a question for you guys. Do you guys think there's even a sliver of a possibility it was Square who messed up Frozen? Alright, a lot of you genuinely don't think it's that possible. That's weird. That is a little weird to me, I won't lie. I definitely disagree with a lot of you guys on that. Because, like, for me, I'm thinking of it from the perspective of, Square's messed up worlds in the past. Shoot, even in Cage 3, they messed up a world that Disney had no reason to touch. Like, well, how do you guys explain Twilight Town and Cage 3? You guys think Disney messed up Twilight Town and Cage 3? I mean, I don't know. I mean, it is a Disney game, so Disney probably does own Twilight Town. Technically, right? Like, I think that world has had a lot of really dumb decisions on potentially both ends. I think that's a reasonable assumption, Shield Fox, but it's still an assumption, not confirmation. Like, I do think that's a big possibility. And based off of what I understand, it comes down way more so to the individual directors behind each film, the individual teams behind each film, because you had Square working directly with like Pixar, for example, on worlds like Toy Story and Monsters Inc., and those worlds turned out fine. I agree. Cage 3 need more original worlds. Caribbean was horrible. Ship sailing isn't the best in an RPG game. I thought the Caribbean was great. I loved it. To be honest, the only other original world I wanted to play in KH3 was Castle Oblivion. I got the rest. This music is Possibility Flaps from Tokyo Xanadu. I think San Francisco had a pretty mediocre-ish story playthrough, so that's my issue with it. Well, I don't know. Okay, the issue with San Fran is it didn't force you, it didn't emphasize you exploring the world during the story. It had such weird world pacing. It's like you could tell for a lot of the Disney worlds in KH3, they designed the levels before they designed like the actual plot around it. Like you could tell they definitely designed San Fran's like big city before they even yeah, like you could tell they designed the big city before they even tried to like write the story for it. But yeah, I think San Fran's story was good. That's why I went back on this. I'm like, the actual story is pretty good, but like they don't emphasize you exploring the world. Like I feel like that world, all it needed was one moment where it was like, all right, search the world, like talk to some people. I don't know, like maybe make it so, all right, find 3 people in this general area that like I don't know, like is a heartless or something. I don't know, there's something stupid or random. Like just give me a reason to explore, because like you're not gonna go out of your way and explore that world unless it's post game. KH3 was a huge disappointment overall. That huge disappointment turned into my favorite video game, so that's that's where I'm at on that. I think vanilla KH3 isn't that good. Then what about, all right, so you said you think vanilla, because you specified vanilla KH3. Do you think Remind made it that much better? Because Remind's kind of like, for me, Remind's like, it's part of KH3, but it's like very separated from the main story because it's literally a sequel to KH3's ending. But I mean, it is a 3-hour extension, admittedly. So like, what about Remind would turn KH3 from not good to potentially good or great? Like, well, what about Remind changed the base game? I think Vanilla KH3 is still the best KH game to me. Remind just made my favorite KH game even better than it already was. But Vanilla KH3 was already my favorite. It widened the gap between 3 and 2. Like 3 and 2 were kind of like, I'll just put up like a little notepad again. All right, so beforehand, right, my list went, I'll put 3 notches. There we go. For me, beforehand, my list was like that. Now, it's like, now it's like that. Maybe not even 1 notch, maybe 2. Like it might be 2 for vanilla. I like vanilla KH3 a lot. Like I still like. I don't know how many of you were. Well, I do know how many, but I don't know how many in the chat specifically. I know some faces, but or profile pictures. I don't know exactly how many of you in the chat were around during pre-Remind season 2019. But if you were, you guys saw how much I was streaming KH3 during that time. So you know I'm not just making stuff up when I say I like vanilla KH3 a lot. I thought the story was beautiful in base KH3. I still think KH3 like potentially might have the best story for me. Like overall, just potentially the best. I do think the pacing could have accommodated more people, because it's like, if you don't like the Disney Worlds, the pacing is probably going to be bad to you. Even if you do like the Disney Worlds, the pacing might be a little like wonky-ish if you don't like love them or don't care about like the little character and you only care about new plot developments, not exposition. Because a lot of the Disney Worlds were just exposition dumps to catch Sora up to like where he needed to be, so we can know why he needed to save Roxas, or know why, or know about Ventus being in his heart, for example. Like things like that were what KH3's Worlds did a lot of, but most of us already knew that, but Sora didn't know that, so they had to explain that to Sora so it could make a little bit of sense. But instead of doing it in a cutscene or 2 cutscenes, they did it over 8 Disney Worlds. But the new combos but you don't even get the new combos until you beat the game. That's the thing though. Like you literally don't get the Remind combo modifiers until you beat the game. So it's like, that's why I mean Remind's like, it's part of KH3 and it makes KH3 better for me, but it's like I don't know. I don't get how it changes the base game experience too much. But overall though, I do understand. Like, it does change a little bit because they made some general patches that did cover the base game, like making combat a little bit faster, nerfing, buffing some things, new animations. But like I feel like for the people where it's like a wide jump, like there's some people I know who are like, KH3 is the worst game ever. Now Remind, yo, this game's top 3 KH games. I'm like, so you hated KH3 that much and Remind fixed that much for you? It's a little bizarre, because for me, from my perspective, what Remind mostly did was enhance all the feelings I already had about KH3 and just utilize them. Like, if you guys remember, before KH3 Remind came out, one of my biggest critiques was, I think Kingdom Hearts 3 doesn't have bosses to utilize its cool combat system. It gave me bosses to utilize its cool combat system. The cool combat system was already there. The cool ability, well, not all the Remind abilities, but the cool form changes, the cool tech you could do, it was always there. AoE fire strats, it was always there. Little crit counter strats, that's been there since the base game. But Remind gave us bosses that pushed us to the limits, pushed us to use some of those things, which I liked. That's how I felt. I didn't want to fight the organization in Disney World, so that would have ruined the ending for me. Like, I don't want to fight like enemies twice in Disney Worlds, for example. Like, it already affected the Vanitas and Terranort fight for me, because I was like, I already fought Vanitas. Dang, I kind of don't care about fighting him. Let me fight Terranort right quick. But so doing that with all the org members, or even a couple of them, like Fire Marluxia and Tangled, I wouldn't have been that crazy about that. However, I do think they did have a missed opportunity. We could have fought like Demix or Vexen in Disney World, like the bench warmers. We could have fought them in Disney World. That would have been fine, or could have been fine. But given their plot points, wouldn't have made sense. The story, I can't change your opinion too much on that. But that's, I wish you liked the story. I do agree on the organization. I think the organization in KH3 does lack that like oomph that the organization in KH2 has. In KH3, like, all the members in the it doesn't feel like an organization. It feels like a bunch of individuals, you know what I mean? In KH2, it's like, yeah, they have their individuality, but they also did have their own things, some of their own things going on. But in 3, they all just kind of like They were just vibing. Like, they had separate plot lines. They actually, I think every org member had a separate plot line going on. Literally everyone except the Xehanorts. That would have been cool, Skyfall. Remind trailers were more hyped than the base KH3 trailers. More hype is hard, but they were definitely on par, at least. I do think Remind trailers were better than the KH3 trailers, because they didn't spoil as much and left a lot more to be found out in Remind rather than spoiling like a lot of the ending. Yeah, I mean, I don't think the real organization is bad, like, at all. I don't think it's bad. I just think it's like, it's not much of an organization. Like, the real organization 13 is just, it feels like a gigantic plot device for the Keyblade, which literally is what it is. So, I mean, I guess I'm just falling into that trap there. So, yeah. Do you know this is actually really good and has some of the best combat stuff from KH2 and potentially 3? Also, the story isn't that confusing if you follow it. I don't think Dream Drop's story is that confusing. I think Dream Drop's story aged really well. I think it aged a lot better because of KH3. If it wasn't for KH3, it would have aged a little meh. You know, like the first 4 games plus recoded. First 4. So you only like KH1, Chain of Memories, 2 Days, and Recoded, or minus Recoded. So after Days. Oh no, you said plus Recoded. So okay, yeah. All right, yes. So the first 4. So you don't like Dream Drop, you don't like BBS, you don't like 3. Okay, so you don't like any of the Osaka games essentially. I think the lore of Kingdom Hearts is so good. So good. Definitely one of its best, like, qualities. One of the series' best qualities, like, period. Yeah, I think Chain Memories is pretty underrated in quite a few aspects. All right. Okay, so we've been nearly going for 2 hours. I'm probably just gonna go ahead and end off the live stream here. You guys did do a lot in waking me up, so thank you a lot. Thank you guys for going to the stream. I want to do a bigger stream today. I wanted to do a level 1 Vanitas playthrough of KH3, but I a couple of things. One, I was pretty tired. Two, I wanted to do a way longer stream, to like a 7-8 hour stream, just me binging through it all in one session, but I was tired, so I didn't want to put that much time into that. Another thing is I was pretty limited on I've been pretty limited on streaming options because there's a lot of things I want to do, but I don't have the files for it on PC yet, and there's other still need to finish my pro code file on console, but my Elgato broke a couple of days ago. I did buy a new one. Luckily, I had the money to buy a new one, and I bought a new one. I bought the 4K Elgato thing, and we won't be doing 4K streams or 9, but I bought a new Elgato, and that won't be coming until, what's today, the 25th? That won't be coming until about Wednesday. So likely no BBS streams until then, no BBS, no pro code streams until then, but that's just what I wanted to update you guys on. Thank you guys a lot for coming to the stream. I really appreciate your love and support. I got more videos coming soon, guys. Thank you all for sharing your opinions with me. I know I can get a little argumentative sometimes, and I definitely do. I love KH3 so much. I can get a little defensive over. Hopefully I don't come off as toxic or anything, like a toxic type of defensive. I try to air out how I feel in as respectful of a way as possible. I shouldn't even have to clarify that, but like I do, because for new people coming to the stream, I want you guys to know, like, I'm cool with you guys. Like, you're all fine, and I love you for even coming out and sharing your opinion with me. I want my channel to not just be for KH3 shills or anything. I want my channel to be just a Kingdom Hearts hub in general, and I think that is what it is. So yeah. So I try to make content for everyone, for the people who aren't as into a certain game, but also for people who are into like KH2 or 1 more than others. If you like Kingdom Hearts, I'm the place for you. Even if it's just one KH game, you might want to check me out. But the only big thing I have to say, I'm really bad at stream outros. I need to start writing stream outro scripts. But I'd say join the Discord if you guys want to continue this conversation, your hot takes, or just have some of these discussions in the Discord server. There's a lot of lovely people in there. We're very close to 2,000 members, so I would love it if you became one of those 2,000 members. But that will be all. Thank you guys for coming out. My name is Prodigy, and I will talk to you guys soon. Peace out.